Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
All right. Welcome back to the Donut Shop Podcast, where we sit down with men and women who've worn the badge, walked the tough beats, lived the stories most people only read about or see on TV. Today, I have guest Eric Speirs. I didn't even test your last name on you, but Speirs?
Yeah, that's
right?
correct.
Okay. Eric's career in corrections spans decades, with time served at both Broward Sheriff's Office and the Federal Bureau of Prisons. During that time, he worked with some of the most high-profile and difficult cases, interacting with offenders tied to violent crimes, standoffs, tragic losses that made headlines across Florida and beyond. Eric's story doesn't end with, but doesn't end with the uniform. His career has faced controversy, with ultimately ending in his termination after allegations that sparked questions and challenges that he still carries today. Part of the reason why he's here. In this conversation, we're going to explore both sides of his journey and the dedication to survive a career in corrections, plus the human toll that career takes, especially when it's cut short under the weight of accusations. So with that conversation about service, sacrifice, resilience, and the reality behind the walls of the correction system, let's get it going. I was telling you before the show, this is one of the kind of facets of law enforcement that for the law enforcement parts of this show that I wanted to talk to somebody. Because I have a tremendous respect for corrections officers because of what you guys do on the other side of the criminal justice system. You know, that part that many of us, patrol officers don't really see beyond the sally ports of the jail.
Right.
So welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, I've worked. So when I was at BSO, I worked at the main courthouse, and I dealt with criminal trials. I left because my judge retired, and they were splitting my partner and I up. And so I was 36, and I got my bachelor degree with FIU, and I decided to go on with the feds. I talked to an air marshal buddy of mine, and he said, well, the easiest way to get on you can't get on after 36 was to go to the Bureau of Prisons. He's like,
they had relaxed the standards a little bit,
or it's just easier. Like, they're always hiring. You might have to move somewhere to get the job, but it was just an easier way to get in.
So so we'll talk about Federal Bureau of Prisons because I've got a little bit of knowledge in there, but with Broward Sheriff's Office, like you remember like what year started, or, so you left there when you were 36, like how old did you start?
I started at 33.
Okay. So you like, 3 years with
3 years with BSO. Yeah.
Working in the courts. Courts can get, monotonous, but also exciting at times, or?
We ended up getting, whenever the chief judge just had a kind of a difficult trial, I guess you could say, or difficult defendant, we ended up getting those cases, and they know that we would deal with it with Judge Lazarus. And we had quite a few defendants that were, they were a handful, but we made it through the trial. We had a great courtroom staff.
Yeah.
The judge was great. Rest his soul, rest in peace, Judge. And so we had a great commander, Commander Pollock. I think he's still with BSO, and just great support staff. I love BSO. BSO is a great agency.
So like with, corrections and stuff like that, like what made you want to get into corrections, like for BSO?
Well, I wasn't in corrections. I worked in the courthouse.
Or the courthouse.
So I worked at, basically we were court deputies, but they call them now bailiffs or whatever.
Yeah.
So we worked in criminal court, and the two of us. I went there for something. I think it was for my sister's case. She had a family divorce case, and I saw somebody doing one of the bailiffs there. I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool job, I guess, whatever. And so I eventually applied and went through the interview process. I made it through, and they hired me. So
you're looking later. I mean, I would consider later in life, in a career life, like what were you doing before that, or what kind of got you started?
Oh, I've always worked in security related fields, and I worked at the Hilton down on Miami Beach for years, for like 5 years.
Hmm.
Left there, worked in construction for like 5 years. Then I worked at Broward General Security at Broward General Medical
Yeah.
Center, and that's another crazy place with all the
Yeah.
Baker Acts, and
Yeah.
you probably have to go there
Yeah. I go
sometimes.
there sometimes. My wife works there. Yeah.
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 So I dealt with the trauma center, with everything from the Baker Act units. There's 3 psych wards and everything.
Yeah.
So I worked there, and then that's what kind of got me my foot in the door with BSO.
Oh, yeah.
Those experiences. So
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So you had some background doing all that, and then just decided like, hey, this is a different aspect, or looks cool. Like,
yeah,
check it out. What do you have to do to like? Okay, besides application process and stuff, is there like an academy for a bailiff or?
No, well, there's like you're 6 months on like a probationary period, and they do their own in-service training. It's all training in-house.
Okay.
So you go through a whole 6 month period of training,
Okay.
and they evaluate you through the whole thing.
So it's more just internal.
It's
or
internal.
whatever.
It's
Okay.
all
Not
it's
like
all,
a standardized like state.
Yeah, they don't
you
send
know,
you to the other
like an academy
to
or
the
anything.
to Broward
Academy.
yeah, Broward
Yeah.
College or whatever. No, they don't send you there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But you have to have experience. A lot of those people are either retired
Cops.
cops or whatever, or military or whatever. They don't just hire anybody off the street. They want somebody.
Yeah,
that
our,
already,
one of the guy that hired me in my agency, he went over there. I think he still works there to this day. So he's doing like a whole nother. He's probably at 10 years by now. You know, and he's great, and it's always fun seeing him. Like if I'm in there for a court case, or well, at least when he was on the criminal side. I think now he's on civil, but when he was with criminal, like I was bringing police explorers in for like tours, and then
that's
we'd sit
cool.
him down, and he'd look at me and he'd just go, you know, and just like he just had that kind of like attitude, like
Yeah.
joking around, and I'd be like, the fucking bailiff is flicking me off, you know, like so. But you know, he was always great, and so yeah, he's it like you said. So it is a good retirement gig for those guys that are still itching to try and stay in some kind of a field,
Yeah.
or work through it. So so you left from BSO because broader or brighter horizons, or
Well,
what you thought?
Yeah, I thought, but you got to realize like BSO has the FRS, Florida Retirement System. I don't know what you guys have, but
Yeah, we have a city.
the city one. So a lot of the counties and state gets paid nothing, but county like Miami-Dade, my buddy works there, and then BSO, like they have FRS, and you get 80% of your including your overtime for your retirement. The federal government sucks. I didn't know this. I didn't research it. So the federal retirement, you get 34%, not including your high salary, not including overtime or anything like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it sucks. If I would have known that, I would have stayed with BSO and just went to the jail or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went there, and then they have a 401k plan, which kind of offsets it a little bit, but it's not like that retirement system. So, and I would tell people, do not work for the federal government. Your job's not secure, as people are finding out now. But also, they, it's just there's a lot of corruption in the federal government. People don't realize how much corruption's there. And so I went to Bureau of Prisons because I had to move up to North Florida, up to FCC Coleman, which is the biggest complex in the country, to get the job. And so when I got there, I had to get a place and everything else with my ex. And so, I had, in retrospect, I would never went. I was planning on trying to get on with the marshals. I had applied a couple times and never went through.
Yeah.
So,
So that was like the first thing you did. So you applied Federal Bureau of Prisons. You got on with them. Do you have to go to like an academy or anything like
yeah,
that?
the academy's in Glencoe, Georgia.
Yeah, you do that.
The Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And now I think it's like 2 months. I don't know if it's a month and a half or whatever it is. Back then it was like a month.
Really?
Yeah, and then and now they're extending it. I don't know, but yeah. So you go there, then you come back, but you do on the job training there for a couple of weeks. Then you go up to FLETC eventually, and then you come back, and then they keep you on probation for a whole year. The
Yeah.
federal government can fire people on probation, which is what Trump was doing with all these people for virtually anything. I mean, they're supposed to have a reason, but they can just fire you. So
It's not just cause, it's somewhat cause.
it's supposed to be just cause. There is no. They're
Yeah.
just like whatever.
Yeah.
So right now, this is I've been through two government shutdowns. One was in 2013. We sued over that. The union did, and then the other one was 20 whenever Trump was in the first term, and that was 45 days, and you don't get paid. You have to go to work, and you don't get paid.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, like I said, people don't go work for the federal government. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I remember friends that were like going to come in town, and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing a training in Miami, and it's run by the feds," and da da da. And then they text me, and they're like, "Hey," I think it was like 2013, maybe. They're like, "Hey, not coming. The shutdown, the looming shutdown."
canceled it.
I think even like it might have been before that. It might have been like 2010. There was like a looming shutdown, but then like the final hour, they got it figured out. But because they weren't sure about the funding for it, they canceled the class anyway. So they were like, yeah, flights, hotels, class, all canceled. Not coming to South Florida, so well, I'll catch you on another
Bullshit.
round. And I was like, wow. I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like my agency, if I was going to get sent to a class, like it's out of the city's budget,
Yeah.
and there's no city shutdown.
Yeah.
But federal government, they run these shutdown threats damn near every 6 months.
It's all political bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
and the employees suffer. And I remember we had the one with Trump. I was at FDC Miami, and I'll explain to you about the different makeups of the different prisons and how many we have across the country and the security levels and all that shit. But at the Federal Detention Center in downtown, right across from the main courthouses there, when they had that, the union had Feeding South Florida coming out with big tractor trailers and drop shipping like tons of food and
For you guys?
for us,
Wow.
and there was other like the U.S. Attorney's offices right around there, and the Federal Public Defender's offices over there. So like a whole bunch of federal
So
employees.
they were doing that because they knew you guys weren't getting paid.
We weren't getting paid. Yeah. So
Okay, so you guys had your own food drives.
food drives, yeah,
Wow.
food banks, and
Okay.
they dropped it off, which was cool. But
Yeah.
it's I've suffered so much working for the federal government. I got assaulted. I had a fight for my life with an inmate. That guy never got he never got prosecuted
Let's
or
let's
indicted.
save some of that stuff. We'll work.
we'll
We'll
get
build
there.
up. You got to build up. I gotta keep you wrangled, and
So-
we'll build up to that stuff.
But yeah, the shutdown is going to be a serious problem for all the federal employees right now. If they do it,
Because we're recording this on the 25th of September, so this will drop a couple weeks. But so we'll know whether or not it came to fruition, because it's boiling over right now on the news. If there's going to be any kind of, because there's already furloughs, there's all kinds of stuff.
and I saw Trump was saying he's hey, let's fire some more employees, and that's kind of bullshit too. Like, you know, the federal government, the people think that we make all this great money and everything else. I mean, my salary, an 8, GS 8, stepped out 10. I think I was making like 70 something thousand a year, almost 80, and that's without overtime or anything. And I
Yeah.
didn't really work overtime. So I have a high school sweetheart. It's up in Pennsylvania working for the VA. She's a GS6, and this poor chick's making like 40 grand a year and barely making by.
Yeah.
And people don't realize like the federal government doesn't pay that great. And if you're planning on, especially law enforcement, if you're planning on going through, like, yeah, CBP, they pay pretty good. It's funny. My buddy works down at the airport here. He calls them stampers. They have a little on their gun belt. They have
Yeah.
a little stamper holder for the stamp they
Yeah.
put on the passports.
We love it. I just came through, and I just got, I don't get a U.S. stamp, obviously, but I got excited going in and out of Germany and going in and out of Turkey, getting my little stamps and stuff, especially with all this news of now stamps are going to go away in the European Union. So that's sad, because we enjoy looking through our passport at all of our stamps. But, so, like, corrections is described as the hidden side of law enforcement.
Yes.
Because nobody really talks about it. They just think you go in jail and there's nothing in there. It's just inmates running the asylum, basically. What does the public misunderstand about corrections? The men and women that work inside the prisons.
So, and it's different from state to state and in regions in the country and between local corrections to state corrections to federal corrections. So, like in the northwest of the United States, like in Washington and California and that area all the way up there, they pay pretty well for state corrections. Same thing in the Northeast, like New York, Massachusetts, places like that, New Jersey, they pay pretty well. Now in the South, they don't pay shit for state corrections. Now federal corrections, we have 122 prisons around the country. We have a detention center in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico, and in Honolulu, Hawaii. And so the differences between with the inmates too, like with the feds, when you're working in these no places America, like in Kentucky or places like that, the jobs are it's a pretty good job because you're making a lot more than whatever the local salary is going to make.
Right.
Even law enforcement, even street cops and stuff. So, they don't, I mean, like state troopers don't make shit down here. I mean, they get a little extra pay because it's Miami and Broward, but they don't make shit like in Florida. And you go to like Mississippi or places like that, they don't make nothing.
Well, yeah, because you consider the cost of living, like when you're talking federal prisons, like cost of living in Kentucky is going to be substantially lower than cost of living in South Florida.
Right.
But the Bureau of Prisons guys are probably getting close to the same amount of money in both places.
Well, we get a cost of living difference per area that you're at. Like
Okay.
we get a higher cost of living down here in Miami.
Okay.
The highest federal cost of living across the country is in San Fran area.
Oh, yeah, because it's probably the most expensive place to live.
There in DC is pretty expensive in New York City.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but back to like the corrections and the differences between them. And county corrections is, like you've dealt with these inmates, your arrestees, the guys who are taking custody. You bring them there, you drop them off, you forget about them because you're just like, all right, I'll see you in a couple months or whatever. When at your, when we have a discovery hearing or whatever we have.
Right.
But like with and the same thing like down at the detention center. Some of those inmates though stay at the federal detention centers for like years. And then eventually they get shipped off to wherever they or whatever happens with them. Now, when you go to federal prison, that's different because now you're designated, and now they send you off to wherever they're sending you to. Now, normally, the federal government tries to keep you within like 500 miles of wherever you were arrested or where you're from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of their rules they have to supposed to abide by. But I will say this too, like 90% of the management in the Federal Bureau of Prisons is corrupt and bad. It's bad. It's real bad. And so when you're dealing with it's corruption and cronyism system, like the inmates get the brunt end of the storm, but they treat our staff like we're inmates. And when I was the union president, man, I protested right in front of the federal courthouse. I was in the Miami Herald. I was on Channel 4 News. I've been in Channel 4 News and Channel 6 and all these other ones. Not because I wanted to. I was just making a point of like all the injustices that are happening, all the bullshit that's going on, and how they treat their employees. And they treat their employees kind of like we're inmates.
So when you're the union president in South Florida, like what do you cover? Like, or who do you cover, or what's your membership?
So the way the federal union it goes, it's so the big union is AFL-CIO, and they're for like international, like everything.
Yeah.
Then below them, they have kind of like federations. They have like the Teamsters, the IBW, FOP probably, or PBA maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
And then, well, I guarantee they're probably part of the AFL-CIO. Well, I think everybody has to be part of them. So
Yeah, I was on our union board, and I don't think we've met up with them or whatever and worked with them, but yeah, maybe it was something completely hidden that I didn't know, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
So then you look at like what we have is AFGE, and that's another point to put in about 1811s with the federal government and their coverage and what they lack. But we have with AFG, we had 800,000 members, and what happened was Trump busted it pretty much, and so so it goes AFG, and then they have councils below there. They have Council of Veterans Affairs, Council of Border Patrol, Council of CBP, Council of Prison Locals. So our council has regions throughout the United States, just like Border Patrol does and whatever. So our council has X amount of locals within each region. So like this region down here is the Southeast region. and my local was AFG Local 501, and we had like 100 and something members there. They've all fallen off
But
because
so, and those are all like, prison.
it's specific to each prison, pretty much.
Okay, so it's okay, so it's a local for the prison.
Yeah, local
Okay.
for that particular prison. Some locals could get combined
Mm-hmm.
into different things. Like some of the components that we have are like part of the central office, so they are part of like that local. Like where Fletzy is, that's part of the Georgia local up there with Jessup. So they combine them because they're kind of closer near each other or whatever. So my local's separate by itself. They have their own autonomy, their own budget, their own everything. And so yeah, so my local was my local. We they when Trump did away with dues being removed out of your paychecks,
Right.
you had to sign up for e-dues. So I think they went from like 150 members to like probably 15 or 20.
Yeah, and that's a thing that if people don't know, it had happened also here in Florida with DeSantis, and what they were doing. Most unions, they're for your protection in law enforcement, or hopefully, your dues were just withdrawn from your paycheck.
Yeah, you didn't see it. You didn't even know.
Yeah, you signed up like when you were a brand new guy. You met with, if you have multiple unions in your city or your agency or whatever, you met with the different ones and you said, and you sign, and it's just a direct deposit or a direct withdrawal from your paycheck. Well, and I didn't realize that the federal government had done that as well, but it makes sense. Florida did it, but they didn't do it to law enforcement. So you've got a bunch of politics, and I'm going to throw it out there. It's my political party, but I'm going to throw it out there because DeSantis did it, and I don't necessarily agree with what he did, because in Florida, he did it to teachers. Teachers didn't back him in the election. They were against him in the election. So he spanked him on the ass.
Yeah.
But police labor unions backed him. So he didn't do it to them. So I don't necessarily agree with what's good for the goose, good for the, or whatever, however you want to say that cliche. If you're not going to allow them, we had it in our own city. General employees, not police officers, couldn't get their dues taken out, but the firefighters and the police officers still can get our dues taken out.
That's bullshit.
I like that I fit in that class, but I don't appreciate that other people that I'm working side by side with at Public Works or, whatever,
screwed over.
can't do it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fight some of the same battles within the city against our commission, city manager, X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. They're technically part of the same union because the Fraternal Order Police, we have like an auxiliary setup where civilians can be the auxiliary. So
Right.
they have a bargaining unit of their own, just like we do. So I don't appreciate that, and it's political mumbo jumbo that they're going to play to get that to happen. So I didn't realize that happened in the federal system,
Yeah.
and it does. It makes it really difficult because we're all lazy, and we don't want to sit here and go, oh, on the first I have to PayPal or Zelle or do whatever. I just want it taken out of my check to make my life easy, because then I don't think about it. And because if I have to think about it, I'm going to forget, or I'm going to go, that's a bill I need to cut out of my life. I don't want to be a member of the union. And then all of a sudden something happens to you, you get shit on, and you don't have any kind of representation because you go to the union board and they're like, you haven't paid your dues in 6 months.
Yeah, you're hit.
So it was a union busting tactic. And I by no means am like huge union lover in my life. Like, my family side comes from the management of construction that were technically against unions.
Right.
But in a public sector like law enforcement and stuff like that, when you get unnecessarily messed with sometimes, and you need some sort of representation there, I believe in it. And then we use it to bargain for our contracts and stuff like that, pay raises, benefits and stuff.
And when you're high risk and you're putting your life at risk for the community, you should get, but then also even the public works guys and stuff, when we're flooding and then there's hurricane shit out there and everything else, they're not putting their lives on the risk right there. I mean, come on. They're trying to put food on their table too,
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, why the city goes down the tier and looks at, okay, well, they're high risk. We can't mess with the cops or the firemen because we're going to catch all kinds of hell for that. But then you look down, these other people, hey, they come and do their job, like my high school sweetheart up in Virginia. I mean, in Western PA with the VA. I mean, she goes in, she's doing like three people's jobs, and they're pretty much like holding it overhead, like we could fire your ass just because. Now, ICE, people are all getting on this ICE bandwagon, and that idiot Sheriff Grady, I got to talk about him.
Yeah.
He pisses me off because he's a hypocrite. And Josh Smith, he's the deputy director, and I'll talk about that too. But so Grady's pissed because they keep saying, well, you guys are pulling, ICE is pulling people, our deputies from Polk County.
Yeah.
And because they're getting a $50,000 signing bonus. Now, 1811s, like I told you, that's a criminal investigator job. A lot of the, pretty much almost all of them, except for maybe Border Patrol and CBP, I don't know if they're not classified as 1811s. I think they're like 18s or 19, whatever.
So these are government label terms.
These are government labeled, like they call them series. So I'm 0007 series, 1811 series. That's like marshals. So once you get to 1811 with the FBI and the marshals and all that, people don't realize you have no bargaining rights.
Right.
They screw you. They will force you into a mobility agreement, kick you around the country wherever they want to if they piss them off or whatever, and they'll fire you. They don't care, or they'll just send you to Alaska and be like, "Here, go count."
Well, and that was one of my things that I always thought was different in the federal system, was that there was really no unionization as far as protections.
Yeah.
So you're saying when you get up into that more special agent, the higher level, like GS-13s and
Yes.
stuff, those are when you kind of lose representation or the ability.
Once you get to a GS-12 or higher, you cannot be a union member unless it's like CBP and Border Patrol. I think those are the only ones that can. Now, ICE is so stupid; they're deportation guys. It used to be INS back
Right.
in the days. It was DOJ, INS. Then they turned it in, flipped it over, and everything with the federal government, and then turned into ICE. It's funny because I'll put you in touch with Casey. She got fired out in Texas. She lives down here, and she was fired because she was reporting rapes at the federal prison. It's a female prison.
Right.
It's the same one where Giselle Maxwell just got shipped off to. Okay. And she applied for ICE, and she checked all the boxes and everything was good. When they ran her background,
Yeah.
it said, "Well, sorry, we can't hire you." Well, she's going through the MSPB process just like me. So you're saying that you're going to discriminate against her and just screw with her because she's a
squeaky wheel.
And I mean, so like I just applied to, and they're probably going to say no because I got fired. But with ICE and how stupid they are, at one point they actually were part of our union, AFGE. They had their own local, and AFG sucks. I mean, Everett Kelly's an idiot. He's the head. He's corrupt. They're all corrupt. What I found with the ICE, what the crazy part was, is that they literally said, we don't want our union no more. So they gave up all their bargaining rights.
Wow.
And like you have to be able to sponsored by like a federation or something. So like AFG or whatever, you can go to like the state of Florida corrections. They were with the Teamsters, then they went to PBA, and then they're back to PBA. I don't know whatever they are,
Yeah.
but
Sometimes IUPA is another one.
yeah. So but so on with ICE and the federal government, like they're non-union right now. They're non-bargaining unit, so they have no rights. So
Wow.
and right now, like there's a couple different venues you can go to. I'm forced to go to MSPB because the scumbag running my union, Kenny Castillo, the president of AFG Local 501 FDC Miami, he's proud. He's saying, "Oh, I got Speirs fired and this and that." I'm like, I got two people their jobs back when I was union president.
Yeah.
And I would have got more people their jobs back had I had stayed in, but had I gotten voted back in. But since this asshole's been there, he's got 7 people now have gotten fired, and he's done nothing
Yeah.
because they have dirt on him. So my thing is like, yeah, we need the unions, but then you look at things like this, and it's like, like I'm having to go to MSPB, the Merit
What's
System,
MSPB?
the Merit Systems Protection Board.
Okay.
And it's like about a 30% win rate for an employee.
Wow.
That's not good. Now, in arbitration, with the union, it's about a 75% win rate for the employee.
Okay.
But the union has to push that through.
Yeah, yeah. Jeez.
So I'm kind of being forced into a venue, and I've talked to a law firm out of Pennsylvania, and they do pro bono work, and they may be suing my union for what they've done to me.
Wow.
I'm on, so it's up in the air right now. They do pro bono work too, so if they do, it will go into federal court, and under the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 and the LMRDA, the Labor Management Reporting Disclosure Act of 1959, those two things you can sue the federal union for
Wow.
if you have just cause, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
yeah.
prove everything with the federal government, even in federal court and everything else. You have to go through your administrative remedies, and if you don't do that when you go to court, they'll say, "Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that," and the federal courts are real picky about. They'll kick cases out and just kick them to the curb. Like when I sued over I sued Joe Biden over the vaccine mandate. When I was union president, that pissed off the agency too. They were forcing all federal employees to get the shot.
Vaccine, yeah.
So I got it because I just didn't want to bring it home to my old man because I used to go. He was still alive then, and I mean I didn't really believe in it or nothing. I just didn't. I would not have done it. But I had other coworkers that were in the military and everything, and they were like, "Speirs, man, I went through the line. I got the shot in both arms. I don't know what they hit me with. I don't trust the government." I'm like, "I don't trust them either." And they're like. And then I had females coming up to me saying, I want to have a kid, and I don't know if this is going to mess me up. And I said, you know what?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's sue Joe Biden.
Yeah. So you're gonna fight it? How'd that go?
Well, that's another. We'll get to that.
Oh,
So,
geez. All right. Let's take a quick break because it's been time. It's time for a break, and then we'll be right back.
all right.
Yo, what's up, guys? I want to do a follow-up. I used to run an ad or commercial for my friends at HPTRT, Human Performance, talking about like testosterone therapy or, all that kind of stuff. I finally have been, I've been using it. I've been, a member of the program for over 6 months now. I got my second round of labs, and I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. When I first was tested, I was at 330. I'm a 43-year-old man, and my test was at 330. I didn't even go through the injections. I'm going through a couple different types of prescription pills that they have to help me out. All legal, all on the up and up. But after this 6 months, my test has gone up to 910. As somebody who works out 3 to 4 times a week, wants to stay young, wants to stay healthy with all this stuff. It's helped with all kinds of stuff, like my focus, continuing to get me like the best sleep that I've ever gotten. I've enjoyed it. So go over to hp-trt.com and check it out. You can bring, if you've had lab work within the last 6 months, you can bring your own lab work and they'll start you up. If you haven't, then you pay for the lab work through them. Or you can just go to your own doctor and do your lab work through your normal insurance, which I'm sure has a zero copay, if anything. And use the code DSP20, and that'll get you 20% off forever, as long as you're a member, as long as you use Human Performance. So it's a great program, good people over there. So go ahead and get it done. And if you've been thinking about it, or if you've looked at recent tests in your testosterone and you want a boost of that kind of stuff, get into it, because you can also get the testosterone through them as well as peptides and other things. So DSP20 will get you 20% off. Good luck. All right, we're back from break. I want to pull you back a little bit, because I want to, you've said a couple times, or you teased that you were going to explain to us a little bit about the federal system and how it works, at least prison wise, and like where it is. How long did you, before they fucked you, how long did you work in the federal system?
15 years, 2
right.
months, and 6 days.
All right. Yeah.
My BOP robot number is 39751, that they installed the chip in my brain.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. So that's how you remember everything.
Yeah.
So So 15 years in your stories so far, you've mentioned like kind of bouncing around, which kind of seems frustrating to me, which is one of the reasons why I didn't like my intent was to go Secret Service like after college. And I talked to the Secret Service guys because I used to run career fairs at UCF.
Yeah.
And I talked to them and they were like, "Oh, get a master's degree or get experience." And I was like, "Well, I've been in school for a really long time, my whole life so far. So I kind of don't want to do more school. So I go, I'm going to go get some experience because
Get burned out of
I
school.
want to hit the ground running on something." So I went and got experience, and then after now getting experience, I was like, I'm going to stick this out because I don't want to waste any more time, you know, now bouncing to another career, which is why I'm able to now retire at 43 years old. So, like, and in one of those like things of like learning about federal law enforcement and the LEAP program and moving around and getting paid different, like you said, getting paid different amounts to go places. And, you know, if you were in the FBI, like every 3 to 5 years, you're in a new field office or something like that. It's like you can never truly grow roots somewhere.
Right.
So is that the same way with Bureau of Prisons?
We don't have a mobility agreement, but for managers, yes, they kind of have to move around. But they're a bunch of ass kissers, and so I have zero respect for most of BOP management. They're horrible people. Like they would sell their mother out. They have no problem. I mean, they're just evil fucks, and like and it's not just like what they did to me. People are like, "Oh, he's disgruntled, he's pissed." No, I mean, I've seen what they've done to other people that have whistleblown and done the right thing, and you know, when I'm talking about whistleblowing, like Casey Hernandez, she was reporting female inmates getting raped,
Yeah, that's what
and
you're saying.
and
Yeah.
she got fucking fired. Now we had all right, we had a prison out in California, out in Dublin, which is out by San Fran, and they shut it down because that's what the BOP does. Whenever there's a big fuckery or scandal or whatever, they just shut it down, and they move people around.
How many people are generally in a prison?
So
Inmates.
well, let me finish that part, and I'll get right back to that. So FCI Dublin was nicknamed the Rape Club.
Ew.
The warden was even indicted for raping female inmates. He all right, and this is fucked up. All right, he had on his phone pictures, government phone, of him nude selfies and banging these female inmates and all kinds of stuff. He allegedly got only raped 7 inmates. You know what time he got for that?
Time served.
5 years. We had a BSO deputy. His name's Charles Floyd. He's in state prison right now. He raped a transportee in the thing. He got charged with sexual battery by an armed Leo.
I feel like I've heard that. I feel like I remember that story.
Yeah, he was in our courtroom. And all this stuff. And when the DNA came out, like it was like the family members didn't come back anymore after that.
Yeah.
He's been serving. He got a 30-year sentence from the judge.
Great.
And all of us were kind of like, fuck, man, we know Charles. He wouldn't do something like that. And then
And then
we're
the
like,
DNA
came out. We're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Sometimes you think you know somebody.
Yeah. And then so then I look at like in federal prisons, and Dublin is an example. Like they call it the Rape Club. Okay. Then they have like the one where Giselle Maxwell's at. That's going to be Rape Club 2.0. It's coming out. The NBC. I've been dealing with a whole bunch of reporters. NBC National's on that shit. Rape Club 3.0 is going to be Aliceville, Alabama. Rape Club 4.0 is going to be Waseca, Minnesota. They're all female joints. And Rape Club 5.0 is going to be FPC Alderson, West Virginia, where the new director's from. So it's crazy that we have all this shit going on, and like I said, with these big scandals and everything, at Dublin, they paid all those inmates, those female inmates, $118 million
In total.
in total of our tax money.
Yeah.
The DOJ did. Now, some of them inmates were probably lying. Okay, because hey, if you're gonna get a free check, they're whatever. They're inmates.
Yeah. Sign me up.
So yeah. So I mean, that's how fucked up it is. Like with the Epstein thing, they shut that place down. MCC New York, it's right just like the way FTC Miami is. It's right where like Police Plaza 1 is for NYPD and shit. It's right in the hub of the federal and everything in New York City there. They can open that back up at any time. They kept it shut down because of the Epstein thing. What's fucked up about that case is the officers that were there, they got indicted for two crimes, two federal crimes. One is 18 USC 371, which is defraud in the United States, conspiracy to defraud, just kind of a catch-all bullshit thing. And then number two was 18 USC 1001. That is lying or falsifying documents, or lying to a federal investigator, or lying in a federal investigation. They pled guilty because when they were up in the special housing unit, which is solitary confinement, they allegedly did not do any rounds. You're supposed to do 30 minutes every time and then sign this little sheet, and then you have five inmate counts a day, usually. And so they signed off on these little count slips saying, yeah, we have 20 inmates in here, 30, 40 inmates, whatever, and they signed it. So they said, well, you lied on those documents, you lied on this document, we're charging you with all that.
Yeah.
In the indictment I have, it says that they didn't do shit from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. But then they just came up with this new video. It came out, what, like 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, it shows this, that the cameras were broken. And then it shows the officer going down range. Why did the Department of Justice force them to sign that indictment knowing that they had that exculpatory evidence, mitigating evidence that could have maybe, I mean, if that went in front of a jury, they'd be like, wait, hold on. You charged them for this, and why are they going down range on this one here doing a round? Like, how do we know you guys didn't doctor the cameras, or what the fuck are you people doing?
Yeah.
Like, we had a suicide right down here at FTC Miami. I'm gonna blast this lieutenant because he's a piece of shit. But the poor kid that was working that night did the rounds, did the counts, did all the shit. It was in Gen Pop. And it's a famous case because this guy was all over the news. David Knizovich. He's the one that went over to Europe and killed his wife or whatever in Spain or some shit. Mm-hmm. So he was there. And he committed suicide overnight. And he normally the inmates, when they commit suicide, they hang themselves with like bed sheets and shit.
Yeah.
This guy got a razor. He's in general population, not in special housing unit, not solitary, and just like a regular razor you shave with. And he cut his leg, inside of his interior leg, like to his femoral, and bled out over the night. So the dude that was working that night, the officer, was a probationary guy, good kid, and the lieutenant never did rounds that night. Lieutenant Miguel Del Valle never did rounds that night. And this poor kid was forced to resign and screwed over, basically. And that fucking pisses me off, because this kid has a whole future ahead of him, and now he's got on his paperwork resigned in lieu of termination or some stupid shit.
Yeah,
and they lied to him and told him, no, it won't be on there.
And there it is.
And there it is. And this lieutenant, nothing ever happened to that fucker. And that guy, he's in charge of the crisis support team. It's funny, when we have our annual training every year we got to do. One of the old timers in the back says, hey, how'd this guy get in charge of the crisis support team? And they says, well, the warden picked him. They said, well, he causes all the crises around here. Why is he in charge of the team?
He creates the problems.
He creates everything.
Oh,
so
man.
anyway, in that case, apparently the U.S. Attorney's Office told the defense attorney, oh, there was no suicide note. There was a suicide note.
Oh, God.
And how did the FBI and the DOJ just up and lose it, just like the Epstein thing?
Yeah.
There's a video now coming up. So those officers, should they have been indicted, or should they have pled guilty to that and signed that plea?
All right. So you owe me one answer. How many generally are in prison, like in a certain prison, like when you say they're closed, and then I want to roll it into another question.
All right. So there's 122 federal prisons around the country, and like I said, just like how the union has their regions and everything, so does the agency. So most prisons are anywhere about 1,500, but there are minimum security, low security. At low security prisons, federal prisons, you're behind a fence. You try to jump that fence, we're authorized to shoot you and kill you, whatever, center mass. But though it's going to take somebody out.
Yeah.
And then medium security facilities, then high security facilities, and then administrative security facilities. The detention centers are all considered administrative. We can house any security level of inmate. And so each region has X amount of prisons in them. I don't know per region how many they have, but for example, the Supermax is in Florence, Colorado. They call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies.
Right.
And oh, by the way, this stupid shit about opening Alcatraz is dumber than a bag of hammers.
Alligator Alcatraz?
No.
The original Alcatraz? The real one?
I went there a long time ago and it's rusted to shit and everything else. And
Oh, yeah, the real one?
It's just
No.
a waste of it's just
Yeah.
Hollywood showboating.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pointless.
It's covered in bird shit.
Yeah. So the detention centers are the places where we only have like 10 of them, or 12 of them, I'm sorry, around the country, I think. They're closing down other prisons. They closed down I think they're closing another like 5 or 6 of them. They're closing down Pensacola, which is on a military base up there. And however, the employees there are pretty pissed. And in our contract, it says that when they do reductions in forces, they have to follow the procedures of this contract. Now, Trump's pretty much taken the contracts of all the federal agency, all the federal union, and just wiped his ass with them. So hopefully the union, AFGE, does the right thing and files a grievance on this. I've been talking with people up there, so that's going to be interesting.
So like Coleman, which is the one that's up in Central Florida.
That's where I was
like, how big is that?
So now that's a complex. Now you have your standalone facilities, which FDC is a standalone, FCI is a standalone, which is all the way down south. FCI is the only federal prison with a pond in it, by the way.
Nice.
And that's where Noriega was there back when, the president of Panama.
Yeah.
Coleman has 5 institutions.
Yeah.
So they have Pen 1, Pen 2, which I was stationed at, the medium, the low, and the camp. And so they can have over like 7,500 inmates there. And that's the biggest dog on the block. That's the biggest complex in the country.
Really? Okay. Yeah, that's the one that I told you on the phone. I did 2 tours, actual tours, not deployment type tours of the place, but I toured by somebody from the Bureau of Prisons and stuff. And I found it interesting because from going to a county facility, where we're like behind 2 walls and they see us and they're hooting and hollering and they're like yelling at us, and we had girls with us and they're making a big deal out of it, to where we were in Coleman and we were like straight up walking with them. Like we were walking the halls as if we were in a high school. And we were like, I was like, yo, I mean, we had to dress professional and all that kind of stuff. But, and it was like, and they told the girls long sleeves, pants, closed toed shoes, all that kind of stuff. But I was like, man, we are, so that was slightly a different world. In the federal system, watching that. I mean, there was a freaking softball field where they were out playing softball. There was different places of worship. I thought it was interesting. The
Sweat Lodge,
the dome, the Sweat Lodge dome. So I'm telling you. So I've been there. I found that interesting. So, and one of the things that they told us on that tour was that they have to afford everyone's religion because it's the federal government. So freedom of religion. So they have to, whatever religion you want to make up and say that you practice, they give you the rights to that.
So somewhat. Now, like you can't do like animal sacrifices and crazy stuff like that.
Santeria.
Stuff like that. But and they kind of control it to a certain extent. And that's a different. I want to touch on this while we're there. The difference between the state prisons and the federal prisons is the federal prisons have created their own problems, because they have inmates from all over. And so they have gangs that normally may not show up here in Florida State Prison that will show up in Coleman. For example, the Aryan Brotherhood, or Black Guerrilla Family, Texas Syndicate, MS-13, everybody knows them, the Serranos, the Norteños. They actually have bylaws written out. And that's how organized
the gangs are. Yeah, for sure.
Bloods, Crips, Muslims. There's down here we're inundated at FCI with the Nietas and the Grupo 27. They're from Puerto Rico.
Okay. And
they're pretty. They actually put a hit out and killed the last Federal Bureau of Prisons employee officer in the line of duty in Puerto Rico, Lieutenant Osvaldo Albarrati. He was gunned down about 2 miles from the institution. They set up an ambush and shot his car up 23 times. What caused that was they had and this is all in the press and information there, that he had confiscated, caught an inmate's cell phone. And if you want to know how the inmates get contraband in there. Remind me to ask you that, and I'll tell you that. But he caught it. He got an inmate's cell phone, and the on the cell phone it had drug operations coming from Colombia to Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico, and he was going to give that to the FBI and the DEA, and they were pissed, and there was some dirty staff involved, and they gunned him down. They killed the man.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had we have that gang here. They just put a hit out on a lieutenant at FCI Miami. I did an OSHA report on an OSHA complaint. That's the reason why the agency hates me, because I did so many OSHA complaints on them that they actually cited FCI Miami for workplace violence hazards.
So you're filing OSHA complaints, like what? What, they're not wearing hard hats, like what?
No. See, everybody thinks OSHA.
No, I know that's.
I'm going to school you on this.
I'm not trying to be dumb. I'm just trying to ask you
I'm going to school you on it.
Go for it. Yeah.
So they had so much contraband coming in and out of there. They were using drones and dropping it up on the rooftop of one place, and the inmates were going up through the ductwork and grabbing the shit and bringing it down. And so they put a hit out on a lieutenant. They had to have our SWAT team sitting on the lieutenant for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And this lieutenant has been in some controversial shit. If you look up a Forbes article, Fast and Furious, she was stuck in timeout on the rubber gun squad for a whole year. 4 employees were in that. Okay, and now you're getting a hit put on you. I mean, that's kind of, you got to be into some serious shit in law enforcement to get a hit put on you. $1 million hit, by the way.
Wow.
So that's recent, and I filed an OSHA complaint on that.
So, but
back to OSHA.
The OSHA, yeah.
So
school me.
So what happens is I mean, I worked in construction years ago, and so hard hats and ladders and extension cords and shit, and then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Let me look at these OSHA standards here. And they have the general duty clause, which is kind of a catch-all. It's kind of like the federal government charging people with conspiracy charges.
Yeah, or RICO.
Yeah, RICO Act shit. So I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can twist this and make this work. So I looked down their things, and they said, well, if you have a elderly patients in an elderly care facility, and they're acting out violently or whatever, I said, well, you have elderly inmates and they act out violently. I said, we got regular inmates act out violently. When I was there at FCI Miami, they had like 10 inmates did 10 fires in like the time period I was there. I sent that to OSHA too. And so I kept building the case up, and then I said, look, the agency, by failure to act and failure to do to foster a safe working environment, created a workplace violence hazard. And I kept pushing OSHA, and with those fires and everything, what happened was these Puerto Rican inmates were getting pissed off at snitches or whatever, and they would go into their out of bounds because they can go in from one unit to the next. They're not supposed to, but they go in there, they'd use like baby oil or some whatever shit they were using, and they would light their mattress up on fire, the inmate's mattress, and then they burn up and then we'd go running in there, put the fire out, and then they would take the victim of the fire and ship them off down the road. So it's the problem solved. And so they kept doing this. It was kind of like it's like when they, I mean, I saw Broward all the time. They would arrest somebody, come in, and then they bond out and be gone, and then come back in and bond out. And be gone. I mean, it's just a revolving door.
And in a jail, you got nothing better to do, or in a prison, you got nothing better to do. So it's an activity. It's something to do. It's, we got reasons to pick fights with these guys. So we're going to
It's over money and shit too, because they got serious money going on there. We had a dirty Puerto Rican nurse working at FDC, I'll tell you that. But so these Puerto Ricans, they have these drone drops coming in, and they're getting money for this shit. Yeah. So that lieutenant was dipping into their funds or whatever, and to get $1 million hit out on you is a problem.
Oh, it's skimming off the top type stuff.
Yeah, or some shit's going on.
So
that's bad.
When you say drone drops, and you just talk about contraband, so how are they getting contraband in?
I was on Channel 6. I did a Channel 6 story on this. So
my friends at WTVJ.
Yeah. So I had I've been to all these different institutions around the country, and so the way they do it is a couple different ways, and they don't do it through the mail as much as they used to, because the inmates' mail now, their personal mail and pictures and shit, uh, like a lot of like the paperwork gets it gets photocopied, and they give them that shit. The only thing they can't do is legal mail, which a lot of times they'll hide behind the stamps like Suboxone and shit and like different drugs. There was this one asshole, Dana Rodriguez. He's still down there. He pistol whipped a federal judge years ago, and that's originally what he got jammed up for. He was sending fake legal documents throughout the United States. There's a story in Miami Herald saying pot-soaked legal papers, and that asshole was sending it out to all these different inmates. And what they would do is they'd spray with that K2 shit, and then they just cut it up and just smoke it.
Wow.
And so through legal mail it comes through. Drones, if you're in a certain facility like FCI where it's open yard, they were trying to do it at FDC. They did do a drone drop because they have these rec cages and stuff in one area. They didn't secure. It was a design issue, and they were dropping like almost like loaves of bread types.
Yeah,
shit,
big bricks. Yeah.
bricks through there and dropping it.
Wow.
So drone drops is a big thing nowadays. Legal mail, the visiting room. Sometimes I found drugs in there. Keys through it or whatever they do, and I found it in the trash can in there one time. Or they'll just try to hand it off to the inmates in the visiting room. And then dirty staff.
Yeah, dirty staff,
corrupt
yeah.
assholes that I hate.
Yeah.
So back to that, the nurse. Ruben Montañez Maribal, that piece of shit. He's given a 7-year bid. He's doing more time than the guy that raped the
Yeah.
warden that raped 7 chicks. He's doing 7-year bid. This asshole was he was all in with the Puerto Ricans and shit and everything else. And it's just sad. He was a captain in the army.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece of shit was a nurse there. And he would come in, and people are going to watch this and be like, damn, Speirs. He would always say, Biantre. And it was just weird and whack. And we would come in, and all the inmates would be like, oh, man, they're drug pimp mules there. So this guy would bring in fake legal papers sprayed with that shit, and he would just drop it in or whatever and drop it off, and then do pill line. The inmates would come up, and normally pill line at the regular institutions is done. You go to the medical department, and they go there on regular moves, like scheduled every 1 hour moves. In the detention center, it's all segregated. And a lot of times we have inmates that keep away from other inmates because they'll beat the shit or kill each other. One time I had a father and son in one unit, and is a perfect example of that and see, this is what happens when you're a seasoned employee and you know your job, and you know how to do your shit. And a lot of my coworkers, they may not like me. I really don't give a shit if they do or don't. But they're like, when the shit hits the fan, I want somebody like Speirs there. And especially if some shit goes down with internal affairs or whatever, and we'll talk about them pricks. I want Speirs there. So I get these guys are coming in, street arrests right off the street, and they got bedrolls and shit, and they're going, and they got their cells assigned to them. And the older black dude, and he's like, hey, officer, he goes, there's going to be a problem in here. And I said, well, why? What's up? And he goes, I got my son's in here, and he was snitching on me, and there's going to be a problem, I'm telling you. I said, do me a favor. I'm giving you an order. Go in that cell right now. He goes, okay. I got him in there. I locked the door. His son comes up, boom, 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 punching on the door. I said, Grimes, get your ass away from that door. I'll pepper spray your ass. And he was like, I said, do it. Don't even try me. I will. And he was like, so then he goes, I said, take your ass out to the rec yard. So I clear the rec yard out. I stick the son out there, lock the door to the rec yard. So he's secured. The old man's secured. Go into my office. ALT, we have steps up here. You need to come over and take one of these guys out of here. Now, a rookie would not have probably done that. A rookie would have been like, oh, what's going on? They wouldn't have clicked as fast as it would have clicked.
Yeah. Because, I mean, at the time, it's just like dogs. You got to, coordinate, separate, put them in different rooms because they're going to go into a trance, and they're just going to want to kill, fight, and hurt each other, whoever they are. And they've got a beef, they've got a problem. And it's just, you're dealing with a lot of times that quality of person when you're dealing in corrections and in prisons and stuff. So,
well, the thing is you got a mixture of these people hodgepodge trying to get along and everything. Like we had that asshole Kodak Black, the rapper. Yeah. He feels super entitled and everything. He grabbed
big Florida Panthers fan.
He's an asshole. Anyway, he and Lil Wayne coincidentally had the same criminal attorney, and they both got pardons, pay for pardons.
Uh-huh.
And that same attorney, who's down here in South Florida, I'm not going to name names on him, may or may not have been on The Apprentice and goes up and hangs out in Mar-a-Lago. I wonder how that happened.
Hey,
Hey,
it's
they
all about who you know.
like
It's all about who you know.
inmate Namani. He was doing a 20-year bid down at FCI for bringing in K2 from China. Inmate Rabashkin, all Orthodox Jewish guys. Inmate Rabashkin and was doing a 20-year bid for money laundering.
Why are you naming these guys?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay. I was like, you're just name dropping.
Yeah. And inmate Weiss, he was doing an 850-year bid. 850 years. They wanted it. They drug him back here from
Damn near
Austria.
millennia.
Yes. So they all got pardoned.
Oh, yeah.
You know why?
is
They
that?
all had the same attorney.
Oh, same guy.
No, not the one from down here. They had another one.
Another one. Wow.
Alan starts with a D. Very famous guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but anyway,
Dershkowitz.
I didn't say it.
Sounds like it would fit into that. You said Orthodox Jew. You said okay.
But
I don't
yeah,
know.
so the federal government's so corrupt.
Is this episode going to cause people to come after me? I probably should have. I'm just a fake media guy. That's who I am. Just for anybody out there that's still watching, that's thinking about putting out a hit. No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're not coming after you. Tell them to come through me first. I'll watch your six.
I talked to a guy. I met a guy who's a retired Florida state trooper yesterday, and he was at the UPS store and started talking. And I saw one of my retired sergeants in line at the UPS store, so we were both shitting. And this guy, and then the guy kind of wouldn't leave me alone in the parking lot. He was just talking my ear off, and I was just enjoying it. But I'm like, so the way I ended it, I was like, hey, dude, here, let me give you one of my cards. You sound like you have some amazing stories. 26 years, state trooper, over 100 chases, he claims. So I'm like, why don't you come on my podcast? I have a podcast. He's like, oh, dude, my name is blocked out of all kinds of stuff, all this. And I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah, all right. I guess that makes sense. I guess some of us don't live in the public eye, and so you don't want to necessarily jump on a podcast and throw your name on it and tell war stories and stuff. So I was like, cool. But here, take my card anyways. And if you ever feel like it and you want to come on and tell stories, feel like it. So, all right. Well, while we're doing that, it's raining outside. We're going to take a quick break.
All right.
Hey, what's up, guys? Want to talk to you about Tasty Gains. They're a sponsor of Counterculture Inc. We love them, been using them, and I enjoy it. It's a little gummy. It's got like 1 gram of creatine in there, so you take 3 a day, knock it out. It's making a difference, and it gives me a little bit of sweetness too during the day. I can keep them right in my backpack in my car at work, and they don't melt. You can see this is the mango pineapple. It's my favorite flavor, but check it out. Use code Counterculture to get 20% off on Tasty Gains. So check out Tasty Gains. They're great. So get your swole on. What's in the cup? Guys, what's in my cup? Blackout Coffee Company. We joined up with them. I've been drinking it and I enjoy it. And I think you may enjoy it as well. So you can go over to our website and click the link, or you can just go to their website, blackoutcoffee.com, and use our coupon code to get 10% off. The code is DSP10. So go over, check it out. All right, we're back for break. So you've mentioned like internal affairs, different investigations and stuff. Who or how does the Bureau of Prisons get investigated? Is there an outside entity that investigates, or is it an internal? Like, how's that work?
So, all right, the way the federal government's set up, it's different than like when I worked at BSO, like with your department. Like a lot of these departments, even big departments, they have their internal affairs, but that's in-house people.
Yeah.
And like we talked about off the record, but I mean, like some people you've worked together, so you know if they've done dirt or whatever. Oh, you used to sleep on the job. Why you write me up for sleeping up on the job? You know, like I seen you sleep before, like whatever. You know, so same shit. And difference is there's like 35,000 employees through the Bureau of Prisons. It's probably one of the biggest law enforcement entities in the federal workforce, I think. Homeland Security is different, more militant than the way the DOJ is. Homeland Security, every one of these agencies or the branches of within the federal government has their own secretary, obviously, like secretary of the agriculture, secretary of whatever. We have the attorney general as the secretary of justice.
Yeah.
So Homeland Security has that Christy Nome chick or whatever she is, and Homeland Security has their own Office of Inspector General,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
different than they don't work for ICE, they don't work for Border Patrol, they don't work for any of the Secret Service, any of the entities, Coast Guard, whatever. They're separate. They investigate criminal activity within the federal government, Department of Justice. I mean, Department of Homeland Security entities. Now they have a administrative branch, which is called OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility for Homeland Security. Those guys deal with administrative shit. Okay. Those guys, but they're not from the same entity. They don't work. They may have worked for ICE before.
I think as you're saying it, I'm sitting here going, oh crap, I know one of those guys. I'm like, I know one of those guys. He's a friend from college. So I'm like, now that you're saying it, I'm already like spinning the wheel going, wait a minute, I've been meaning to reach out to him about this podcast anyways.
So my understanding and investigation of it is that it's not, they may have worked for CBP or they may have worked for ICE or Border Patrol or whatever, but then they applied for that OPR job and then they got that, and so they're a separate entity from all the other entities that they investigate within Homeland Security. The Department of Justice is not like that. The Department of Justice is so fucked up. It's all in house, and they cover shit up. Which is funny, and I'll tell you about the Federal Protective Service Police report thing, but so BOP's Office of Internal Affairs is for administrative shit. The DOJ has OIG, has their own OIG branch. Okay, they investigate criminal shit within the whole DOJ components. FBI, DEA, Marshals, ATF, BOP. They investigate all of them. Okay, the DOJ does have an OPR. OPR is only for DOJ attorneys that are doing dirty shit, wrong shit. Doesn't have anything to do with so what I've been proposing forever is that they should move not just BOP's OIA, but any OIAs or any of that shit into a separate entity together, just like Homeland Security has. That because then those people are not vested within the people that they're investigating. Because like in your department, small,
Right.
they're gonna know who you are. Somebody's gonna know in your internal affairs. Oh, I know Justin.
Right. So it could skew the investigation because you could have had problems sometimes,
Either good or you could
good
have
or bad, or they could
friends
be
or
or just like you watch some investigations just blow away, and you're like, wait a minute,
How the fuck did
how's
that
this guy getting hemmed up for the same thing that guy got hemmed up for? But they used to work Vice together, and now they're good.
Yeah, and they both have dirt on each other, and they don't want that shit to come out.
Right. So it's and that kind of goes towards where I was mentioning during the break. You've got nowadays for transparency, we do like a step up or even two steps sometimes in law enforcement agencies. So we might even, if I'm like I work for a local city agency, we might bypass the county because we also work with them a lot, and go all the way up to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is like the FBI for Florida.
Right.
So we go up to the lead state agency, and they come in and do the investigation. They don't necessarily know us. They just, they know figure out they go by our policy and procedure. They go by all this, and then state laws, of course, and they investigate us. But that's not for all internal complaints, all that kind of stuff. All that's
for
handled.
major shit.
Yeah, for officer involved shootings.
Yeah, shit like that.
Any
kind of homicide or any kind of like serious injury type shit or whatever.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. So like with us, like this prick that was investing me, Donald Newsom, and I'm going to name drop a couple people right now just because I'm pissed at them. But these people, they're not real investigators. Like they're former lieutenants that really don't know what. I mean, it's like having a street patrolman and then just saying, all right, you're going to become a detective now, and not training that person at all or not doing anything. They're not going to know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, to some of our credit, we learn. We're all investigators on the road.
Right.
I have to investigate.
I get it, but
yeah.
I mean,
I know what you're saying.
It's a different part of the trade.
Well, you can't throw him right in and make him a homicide investigator.
No way.
There's top tier stuff like
Yeah.
a fraud investigator. It's like, you know, on the road we learn a little bit about fraud, but some of these fraud investigators get really deep in the weeds.
They're doing all kinds of forensic accounting type shit and everything else.
Yeah. So and we're not.
It's yeah. I mean, it's just
For sure.
It's just not. It's not because they can't do it. It's just because lack of training and overall.
Yeah. We have to be more a jack of all trades, where
Right.
they can focus. And
That's the
hone
same
in.
thing with me as a CO. I mean, we have what's called Special Investigative Services. That's kind of like our detective branch. And so this asshole that was investigating me, he was my captain, acting captain, like for like almost like like over a year and a half time period, like 10, like probably more than 30 times. So how are you going to be my department head when my lieutenant does my eval and then you approve the eval, but you're also my investigator?
Yeah.
What kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah.
You're my second tier department head. Like you can also be the one that disapproves my leave or whatever. All kinds of other shit is involved. And when I was union president, me and this asshole had it out. I did what's called unfair labor practice with the Federal Labor Relations Authority on him. He drug an officer in. This poor kid. He brought his gun into work. Now, when you come into
Personal gun.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
when you come into a federal prison, this happened up in Tallahassee, and everything in law enforcement's reactive, as you know. They never really plan ahead. Sometimes they do, but you know, I mean, when I was at BSO, they were doing active shooter training there with SWAT and shit in the courthouse when we were closed because of holiday.
Yeah.
So I mean, so we were doing shit back when. And I'll tell you about blue training and that active shooter shit and how fucked up the BOP is. But so this kid brings his gun in on accident, and a lot of times they call it a Glockation. So up in New York, up in Brooklyn, they do. So if you come in and you do that, the standard thing is you're going to get a 21-day fucking 21 gun salute suspension.
Wow.
They took it to arbitration in Tallahassee, and they actually got it knocked down to a reprimand, and got back pay and everything else.
Shit.
So that was pretty cool. The reason this whole thing happened was back in 2006 in Tallahassee, there was a ring of assholes up there that were screwing the female inmates, and the last guy was going to get apprehended, taken into custody, and an FBI agent and an OIG agent came out with the SIA lieutenant, with the SIA special investigative agent, and they coming out to arrest this guy. They did not have metal detectors. They did not have X-ray machines at that point. This guy knew he was getting arrested, had his Glock in his bag, locked and loaded and ready to go. And they came, he exchanged gunfires and kills the OIG agent.
Jeez.
And Buddy Hefner's name was, I think. And the FBI agent returns fire and kills him. So because of that, now we have X-ray machines and all that shit, which I have no problem with.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing the put your hands up like with the
Like
things
TSA?
at TSA. We had one, and these assholes got rid of it. I mean, when you have something, you don't get rid of something.
I mean, yeah, and I agree. And with part of back to the contraband's conversation, it prevents certain things. I mean, the freaking tips of the tassels on my or drawstrings on my freaking pants always queue up when I go through TSA because they're freaking Lululemon and there's like some sort of metal, even though the outside looks like plastic.
Yeah.
There's metal in there somewhere, and and I get my balls tapped every time I go through the airport. I need to cut those things off and put new heat shrink on there. But it's
If you're not dirty,
why not? Yeah.
If you're not dirty, and you have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Go through the fucking
Yeah,
thing.
you're coming into work, put
Yeah.
everything in a bag, go through an X-ray, and then
go through the
and then-
body scanner shit. And
yeah,
you're
make
done.
sure I'm not putting anything in my prison wallet
Or
and then-
whatever, yeah. And
Yeah.
so the other part to that is body worn cameras, and I'll talk about contraband and things with that, and keeping things on the up and up. That's part of this too. But internal affairs and this Newsom guy. This poor kid is like, look, I fucked up. I did a memorandum on it, admitting I brought the gun. You guys have my gun in chain of custody, and they kept his gun for like almost a year. And I went to the city, I pissed these people off so bad. I went to City of Miami Police Department, their main headquarters. I said, I want to file a police report. I said, for what? I said, information report. And they said, how do you know about information reports? I said, well, I don't know. I just know that I can do one. And they were like, okay, well, and I'm like, get a sergeant out here, come on. And so the desk guy was getting annoyed. So I said, that federal prison has this man's gun and it's not a criminal investigation. They've cleared the serial numbers and everything else. I want to file a police report that they're illegally holding on to his gun. So they did. And then shortly thereafter, they gave him the gun back. When they got the gun back, it was missing around. So somewhere in FTC Miami, these knuckleheads are left a 9mm round wherever, somewhere.
Yeah, they probably cleared the gun, ejected it, and then didn't
They
reload.
pick it up or whatever.
So-
Fucking
so
dumbasses.
dumb, so
Any-
dumb.
So this poor kid gets drug up into this Donald Newsom.
You're sitting up, just angle that up a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Perfect.
Gets drug into this prick's office, Newsom, and he just wants his union rep. And this Newsom guy says, "Hey, if you leave out that door, I'm going to file more charges on you." So when I was union president, what did I do? Filed a Weingarten rights violation on him. It got it sustained. The warden signed off on it in March of 2023. Why would that guy still be doing internal affairs investigations if you can't trust him to
do
not
things appropriately,
to not
and-
violate people's Weingarten rights?
Yeah, and so the Weingartner rights. Just explain that for.
For people, I can read it to you.
Sure, let's go. Because I know that because there's things like Officers' Bill of Rights, and then there's garrity. You can't force somebody.
Right.
You can't.
How kinds?
You can't force somebody to talk criminally and use it administratively,
or
vice versa. Administratively, and then file charges on them. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what it is. You can't force them to talk administratively and then use that in a criminal because it doesn't meet like Miranda, all that kind of stuff. Like, are you investigating me criminally or administratively? Like, what are we doing?
They have to give you the garrity and the Calkines warnings before that and tell you if there's anything in here that could implicate you criminally, we cannot use that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
exactly.
They have to give you those warnings.
You're almost like doctor-client privilege type stuff, even though you're not.
Right.
But
so,
what's
so the Weingarten rights is if called to a meeting with management, read the following and present this card. If this discussion could in any way lead to my discipline or affect my personal working conditions, or I will be asked about another employee's possible misconduct, I respectfully request that my union representative be present at this meeting. Until my representative arrives, I choose not to participate in this discussion.
Okay, and is that held up by a Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah.
Or okay, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so that's held
It's
up.
just like Miranda.
You're right.
Miranda was. Yeah. So there's the Weingarten rights. So, and actually, your department should know that because So
no, I mean we basically know it in gist, but I've never heard of it. I probably have. I've just never pinpointed the Weingarten. I just basically know like. Why not have another party here? I'm legally allowed to have another person here, either a representative or another, like a union board member that is gonna hear to
is impartial and gonna be a witness to whatever's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're above board and you're doing the right thing, you should have no problem.
Yeah.
So this asshole did that, and so we got a sustained charge against him. And they had to sign off on it.
Yeah.
So what happened after that, I filed a grievance on this guy and as union president. So why would the agency, knowing our history, allow this guy? Because at one point they changed internal affairs, special investigative agents, Office of Internal Affairs, used to be locally just at the institutions. And then they said, no, we're doing it at a central office in D.C. So why would they turn around and then allow this guy to investigate me? Mm-hmm. If I did that as union president, I did this, and then I filed a grievance on this guy, why would you allow it?
Yeah.
Does that mean, doesn't it seem like serious conflicts of interest? They could have sent somebody else from DC.
Yeah.
So fast forward to last year, and I can't get into the deep depths of my case, but what I can say is, because it's coming up next month, is November, I get called in. And in the contract, it says, look, you got to give 24-hour notice. The union has to be made aware, everything else. Well, the union, up until that point, this Castillo guy had been harassing me for like a whole year. And he would try to fight me during a union meeting.
So this is your case.
This is my case.
Okay.
And so this Castillo guy, he tried to fight me in a union meeting. And how stupid it is, he says this in a threat assessment thing. He says, the associate warden says, well, what happened in the union meeting and between you and Speirs? And he goes, what happens in the union meeting stays in the union office. What is that, some mob stuff?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
come
yeah,
on,
yeah.
how dumb are you? That's the dumbest thing that, if I was
Yeah.
your attorney, I'd be like, whatever you say, don't say that.
Yeah. It just makes you look like an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it, you're incriminating yourself. It's
Yeah.
pretty stupid.
Yeah.
So he says that, but I didn't know about this, but I already knew that him and I had been beefing this whole time. And I stayed away from him because I'm like, look, I'm not trying to get into a fight. I'm not trying to lose my job. I got 4 years left to do and get my bullshit retirement, get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then they drag me up to they drag me, but my captain says two things. You got to do your background check. Every 5 years, federal law enforcement has to do a 5-year background check and clear it. So not like the initial one when you got hired on or whatever. Every 5 years, I have to go through. They run my credit, they run my criminal history, all that shit, and you have to pass it every year, every 5 years. But they're behind 5 years doing it, but they're supposed to do it that way. Anyway, so he says, Speirs, you got to do your background check. That Robin Taylor, he's an asshole, my captain. And so then I think, was, he says, also, you got to go up to Newsom's office. And I'm like, well, how come you guys didn't tell me? And prior to this, I filed an EEO case against these people. It's pending too. I can't get too depth into that, but my EEO rep, she was emailing back and forth with this guy like, hey, let's set up the meeting. I'll go there. He doesn't want the union there because he can't trust these guys. He wants me as the rep. And the guy kept refusing to contact her for getting back and everything else. So they were setting me up, the union and this guy. And so I go up there and he says, I'm calling. He calls Castillo down and calls him on the phone and says, hey, Speirs is here. Come down. And I said, look, man, I'm going out on that camera because if he comes near me, I'm going to defend myself. I didn't get any equipment. I didn't get pepper spray or a baton or anything because we had to get that out of the control center, the dispatch unit, dispatch area. And so I was like naked with nothing on me, basically. But
you were in uniform. You were at work.
I'm in uniform, yeah. But just hand combat if I have to, whatever. I'm not trying to, but I'm like, keep this guy away from me. I don't want anything to do with him. So I told them, I kept yelling in there because I went on camera so they could see because there's no audio. And so then this guy they send the other union guy in, and the other union guy, McLeod, he comes in, and we sit down in this guy's affidavit. He says, well, I came in, I sat down, I said, I'm not doing this, and got up and left. But the government's not giving me video footage. I've asked for it. I came in at I was up in the office about 2:05. At 2:20, probably 2:20 something, 2:22, because I looked on the clock and I said it. I said, you got 5 minutes. I feel like shit. I'm 50 years old, 51 now, but I'm 50 years old. I take blood pressure meds. My blood pressure's through the roof. I can feel my head on fire right now. I call medical down there. We have medical personnel there. I said, I want my blood pressure checked, or I'm medically evacuating myself and going to the doctor. And what does Newsom say? What does he say? I said, all right, it's 2:28. I gave you 5 minutes. He called, and it should be on the radio logs and all that stuff. I said, it's 2:28. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to urgent care. He goes, if you leave out that door, I'm putting more charges on you.
Right.
It seems like something he does, huh?
Yeah.
So I left out. In his affidavit, he says, I came in. I said, no, I'm not doing this I'm not doing this. And then I walked right out. So you're telling me I came in at 2:05? Then why did I leave at 2:28? And there's cameras everywhere.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
But, and then they're not providing it for you.
They're not providing it for me.
FOIA requests or anything?
No, nothing. And so get this. Now, that's the difference between BOP and BSO or whatever and the state. They try to short staff people or not, so that everybody's considered law enforcement. So they got to go through same training, everything else, so they can pull and put people wherever they're short staffed or wherever they got to do.
Yeah.
So the HR person is not just the HR person. Like in your department, your HR person's HR. She doesn't get high risk pay, nothing like that, or whatever. But there, they get the law enforcement retirement. So are they violating my civil rights and constitutional rights by saying, we're not going to provide, we're going to withhold and tamper evidence in a federal proceeding?
Right.
As a law enforcement officer, not just as the HR person, law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Jeez.
So that's how they kind of screw themselves on the backside of it. But anyway, so I leave out. I go to urgent care, Memorial Urgent Care, and my blood pressure is 154 over 102.
That's not good.
Doctor says you get 2 days restriction. So they don't write me up for that one. And then fast forward 2 weeks later, December 4th and 5th, they say the same bullshit. On the 4th, I come in, this little punk lieutenant there, he's got like 5 years on the job. He's like, Speirs, you need to come with me. I'm like, no, I'm not coming with you. I'm gonna leave out this harassment. I'm gonna leave out. I'm gonna call 911, and I'm going to, I'm leaving. I'm going home. Put me down for sick leave. Then he lied in his affidavit and said, "Oh, I told him he's not allowed to call 911." Who tells somebody? What law enforcement officer tells another law enforcement officer you can't call 911? How crazy is that shit?
Yeah.
So anyway, I go out and I call the Federal Protective Service Police, which I had done a police report on back in March. I left out of a training because that Castillo guy was in there. And I go out and right on the corner of 5th and North Miami Avenue, there's a FBS guy. I says, "Hey, officer, can I do a police report with you?" He says, "Yeah." And I told him, I said, "This guy's been harassing me for a whole year, this and that." So anyway, I call them back, and it turns out that they're like, "Well, we have no jurisdiction there. We're with Homeland Security. We can't do anything in Federal Bureau of Prisons buildings." That's. I said, "So if I have an emergency, who do I call?" He told me I can't call 911. And then he's like, "Well, you got to call the FBI or I don't know, or whatever."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What kind of bullshit is this?" So that day I leave. I got AWOL'd. They said that I failed to comply with the internal affairs investigation, failed to follow supervisor's instructions, AWOL'd, and leave, a failure to file leave. Those two kind of cancel each other out because they're the same thing. It's like double jeopardy.
Yeah, it's double stuff.
And so same thing maybe with the other thing too, but we'll see. And so the next day I come in, and my captain's sitting there with the internal affairs idiot, and they're like, he's like, "Speirs, you need to come with us." I said, "This is harassment, man." I said, "You're supposed to give me 24 hour notice. I told you that. I don't trust these people," and everything else. And they're like, "Well, too bad." So I was leaving out, and I saw this attorney out there that I've known because I worked in the visiting room there the whole time. And I see this attorney, and I says, "Can I retain you for a second?" He says, "Yeah, sure." And then I said, "Captain, come over here." And so then he comes over, and I says, he's harassing me. I said, "This is harassment now. He gave me an order to go up to see this guy. I'm I don't feel well. I need to go see a doctor. I feel sick." I said, "I've retained you." And he goes, did you give him an order?" He goes, "Yeah." And he says, "Well," I said, "I'm going to go to see a doctor. I feel sick." Okay, so I leave. Now, under 5 USC 75113, it says you're allowed to have anybody can be your representative. And then it says say union, and it says or an attorney. So at that point, I had an attorney there.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they ever respond, just like Miranda rights or whatever, do they have a responsibility to schedule it with my attorney from that point on?
You would think.
All right. So they failed to comply with internal affairs. If you get one of those charges, you can get fired for that. Fail to follow supervised instructions, fail AWOL, and the leave thing.
So at this point in the story for the podcast, we don't really know what your original charge is that they're investigating. We don't really know.
I don't know.
Oh, you still don't know?
I don't even know.
Okay.
How crazy is that?
No, at that point, do you know now?
I don't.
What? Okay, I thought you were partially withholding it because you couldn't necessarily talk about it and stuff.
They never. When I remember, I was union. Union president, Justin. Now, I know how this stuff works. My bad.
Yeah, I was just making sure that the microphone didn't go out. So now you're getting your dick stamped on, like, but we don't even know. You don't even know.
I don't know. Nobody
why.
knows.
I was like, all right, respectfully, I'm just going to let him keep talking, and I'm going to ask him. But okay.
So I don't know. I still don't know. So then I go to urgent care. Blood pressure is 169 over 96. Doctor says 2 days work restrictions, whatever. And so next day I get a text message from this Castillo guy.
Are you still on your previous 2 days of work restrictions?
No.
Or are you past that? Okay.
No, that was in November. This is in December now.
I was like, we're double stamping a triple stamp over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then they AWOL me.
Wow.
And I have a doctor's note saying that no work restrictions. So work restrictions. So then the next day I get a text message from this Castillo guy saying, "Oh, you're so pitiful. I'll pray for you." I'm like, this guy can't leave me alone. So I got pissed off. I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I filed a restraining order in North Miami-Dade courthouse. One against Newsom and one against this Castillo guy.
Jeez.
Yeah. November 26th, I turned around and I ended up filing a civil rights charge against this Newsom guy for everything he did to me.
And this is 2024.
2024.
So not even a year ago.
Yeah. So I did a civil rights charge, sent it to Markenzie LaPointe, the prosecutor for South Florida's district down here was. I sent it to Kristen Clark up in D.C. They got rid of her. And nothing, didn't hear a peep about it. But they all got it. Okay. Even the director of the Bureau of Prisons. And I'm like, keep this Newsom guy away from me. He ended up retiring, Newsom, in December of 2024. So on the 9th, I filed a restraining order. Newsom's does not go through. I appeal it. Castillo's goes through and it gets set for a hearing from the judge.
No, served and everything. Wow.
So it's hard. And when I worked at BSO and everything, and you know, as an officer, it's hard to get a restraining order hearing. Usually they either it's legit, like somebody was beat up and there's pictures and everything else.
And so, yeah, for restraining orders, like person versus person, neighbor. But, you know, and we're not talking domestic violence injunctions. Those are usually rubber stamped.
Right.
Please bring me to a hearing. But yeah, person to person and employee work related. Yeah. You've got to have a good affidavit written explaining the circumstances and to get that approved. Wow, that's okay.
Yeah, so yeah. I got that, and it was set for January 2nd of 2025. Well, my attorney and I were not ready, so we get into the hearing in front of Judge Canova, and we're like, we're going to have to postpone it. So we postponed it to March 17th.
Oh, wow.
And St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. Hooraloo. Yeah.
So up until that point, I just had those two new cases put on me. I still have no clue what they're investigating.
What the original one. You had new cases spurred from the attempted investigation of
the original shit
of case one. Okay.
Yeah, and get this,
just to keep the audience in play here.
So the other part is when you do cases, okay, your cases are numerically, you know, they'll give you a case, the dispatch will give you a case. Hey, here's your case number.
Right. Yeah.
So if you have an incident in December of 2024, it's going to be a 2024 case.
Right.
How is it that all these cases were combined and it's a 2025 case? If this guy, he said in an arbitration, I do everything chronologically.
So, and you've already been to an arbitration, but you've still never been read into what the original issue is.
No. I haven't been to an arbitration on any of this stuff. So now, fast forward, now the warden is aware, and all those people are aware. And Newsom retired. I guess he's scared shitless. He's like, I don't want nothing to do with a restraining order. I want nothing to do with
a nut job.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get any of this shit. So February rolls around. I'm in annual training, and I guess I pissed off my shithead captain, Robin Taylor. Screw him.
I don't know if there's anyone left that you haven't disparaged, but I just want to put an asterisk there.
Anyway, he's up there and he's being hypocritical, talking about ethics and everything else. Yeah. And so I says, I start calling them out in front of all these rookies, and they're like taking their shirts and putting it over their mouth, like laughing and shit, like under their breath, and like literally. 2 days later, I'm still in training because we have 40 hours of in-service training, and then we have to do 1 day a year qualifying with firearms. So 40 hours of going through all the PowerPoint bullshit. You probably have to do some of this stuff too. Self-defense stuff, CPR shit, whatever.
Yeah, high liabilities.
Yeah. So I'm calling, 2 days later, this is my block of the week that I'm supposed to be doing this training that they pre-schedule you for. So they have your post covered wherever you're working. So next you know is I end up getting called out by another lieutenant that did the investigations for Miami. And this is February 5th. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, Speirs, I'm here to investigate you. Well, the Internal Affairs Office is inside. Like, I'm here in training today. And like, actually there's a federal law. It's CFR 410. Anyway, it says like you can't pull people out of pre-scheduled training if it's going to cause overtime. It has to go all the way up to the director.
Wow.
So it'd have to go to like the director of the FBI, director of the DEA, director of the BOP. And so I'm like, so why are you pulling me out of training when this could have waited till next week? It's already waited for how long? So they said that I failed to comply with the investigation on that date. But remember, I had a retained attorney. They never talked to the attorney or scheduled anything. And my EEO rep, she was contacting them saying, hey, let's meet. They're ignoring all that. So they wrote me up for failure to comply with investigation, failure to follow supervised instructions, even though I was in training. I missed 2 classes during that bullshit episode. You tell me if these sound like important classes. One was combating inmate extremism. The other one was security procedures. Sound important?
Sounds like the basic stuff that you should have to know.
Yeah, and basically you should have to be in class for it.
Important stuff to be in class for.
I mean, so anyway, they never made me retake any of that shit or redo it. So they just rubber stamped it, whatever.
Yeah.
So
you
then,
were here.
Yeah, you were here. And so then February 19th, the same guy calls me up to the Internal Affairs office because I went back to training. That's why they didn't AWOL me. So this time I'm on my post, and they bring me up there, and they're like, hey, Speirs, I said, dude, you know I told you I can't trust this union and everything else, so why am I here? And he's like, well, I'm going to go back to my post. So I went back to my post for the rest of the day, did my shift. Next day, they put me on administrative leave. You can only do that for 10 days per federal law. And Trump just brought everybody back that was on administrative duties. We had 2 officers during the Christmas party in December of 2024, which I have the police report for, that pulled guns out on each other at the Christmas party.
Jesus.
Good time. And they still, one got promoted and the other one still has a job.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I didn't pull a gun on nobody. So anyway, that's how crazy this shit is. So anyway, so then I ended up being on Rubber Gun Squad for 10 days at home, and then I got paid at least. And then March 6th, all the way until I got fired, I was on administrative duties, listening to inmate phone calls, dumbing my brain. All the way up until then. On April 23rd of this year, they gave me my proposal for removal. We did a 28-page response with 70 attachments to it. And I requested any investigative stuff. So they gave us my discipline packet. Then I know they always screw up and they never do it. And I said, well, how come I'm missing the investigative file? So then they had to give that to me. They also gave me 2 threat assessments, meeting minutes. One was from June of 2023, and that's when that Castillo moron said, what happens out in the union office stays. They didn't even tell me. I was the victim in that, supposedly. And they didn't even call and question me. So the other clown that was in there, this guy DeRozier, Dumpster, he says, no, nothing happened in that union meeting. But then, come to find out, a year later, they do another threat. This Castillo moron says, I feel threatened by Speirs. So then they says, in that one, this guy McLeod says, yeah, Speirs, I feel threatened by him. He's going to come to the parking lot and do something to me, and maybe Castillo. And I hadn't even seen this. And I went to this threat assessment, and I was the accused or whatever. And I went there with my EEO rep, and when I said, do you guys know I have this police report from FPS? And they were like, what? And I'm like, and then I winked at my captain, and he was like, he whispered in the associate warden Roger Morris's ear and said, whatever. And he said, we're going to reconvene this meeting. I said, no, let's do it now. Do you want the copy of the report? I got a copy for you. And then they never called. Next day, they called this guy McLeod in. He said, I feel threatened. It was all an in-house deal. And then I never got that document until April the next year. And in that document, this guy DeRozier, when this guy was trying to fight me in the union meeting in April of 23, he held him back because I called him a liar, and he is. And he got mad. And he's like, get up and do something about it. I'm sitting on the couch. Next thing you know, he's old. This guy DeRozier found out there might be a video of this shit. And so now, a year later, he says, I had to hold Castillo back from Speirs and all this shit. I didn't even know any of this stuff happened. And all this stuff in the agencies allowing this shit to happen and go down.
And half of this stuff just seems so petty. Like, all this stuff just seems petty drama. It's not like you were bringing in contraband. At least of that allegations. Yeah. Like you haven't seen or I haven't heard of the original allegations. So it's like,
so get this. I got written up in 2016, 2017, 2018 when I was pissing them off at the FCI. And they're only supposed to do 120 days. It's like their own rule. And
to do the investigation
and to do punishment. After that, it's no longer corrective. It's punitive punishments to punish you. The federal criminal statute for inmates, for criminals, is 5 years for most crimes, not terrorism, murder, and shit. But so in 2016, you're giving me this bullshit that's 7 years old. I got it in 2023 or 4. They no action didn't make it go away. But one of the cases they did, this is how crazy these people are. There was a live snake in the visiting room, literally. It was in the Coke machine, and one of the visitors comes up and goes, "Officer, there's a snake in the thing," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "But there's a pond there and everything else, so it could be whatever." I go up and I look, and it's like a small snake. It kind of had like a little diamond head look to it and everything. I was like, man, I ain't messing with that thing. And so I made a big deal about it because I was with the union then and everything. I made all this shit. They wrote me up for that because I didn't write a memo about it. Like, really? So that's the kind of shit that they would come after me for. Real dumb shit.
Yeah, especially union presidents. You've really got to like mind your P's and Q's and like do everything by the letter of the law, because you hold them to a certain criteria.
Oh yeah,
and so they're definitely going to push that back on you.
They fired the BSO's union guy a long time ago.
Sure, yeah.
They fired him. But yeah, so then what happened? I'm on Stolen Rubber Good Squad. March 17th, I have the hearing.
Right.
And it's like an hour long in front of this Judge Cannibal. And this guy was so stupid, this Castillo guy, he objects. And, when they do an objection, it's going to be, relevance, badgering the witness, whatever, all those criteria that they object under. And he goes, because it's a bold-faced lie. And the judge is like, well, and my attorney looks at me, I'm like, and then she goes, Your Honor, this is a business record, this email, and as such, it should be allowed into the record. And so the judge allowed it. So we're going through everything. And at the end, the judge was basically like, look, under the Florida statute for stalking, this does not fit the criteria. But, and he said this on the record, and it's going to be in my case, Mr. Castillo, you've created a hostile work environment. And the things that you've said and done with Mr. Speirs here are inappropriate as a union president. I can't handle this in this setting. And then he said, is he going to avail us in other settings to my attorney? She says, yeah, he's going to have another setting for him, whatever. So then he goes, okay, but this is my non-legal advice to you. And I have it. He says, if I were you, Mr. Castillo, I would not have any more contact with Mr. Speirs going forward, because even though I'm dismissing this, he could always file it again.
And this is the
state judge.
But this is for the restraining order.
Restraining order.
Yeah.
So it got dismissed, but the judge said that. Now, does the agency have a responsibility to do something about all that? I mean, you have a judge admonishing this guy, saying, stay away from the guy.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, and so then... So that's the internal affairs with the Bureau of Prisons. It's so corrupt. It's just such buddy system and all that. Like, we have a and I got to tell you about this.
We'll take a quick break. I want to check something real quick, and then we'll be right back, and we'll finish this whole thing up. Yeah, it'll be perfect. Yo, what's up, everybody? I want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com. But this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items, because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast, PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats, I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show, and don't forget donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. All right, we're back. Wrap this mess up. I mean, I didn't realize it was so recent. Like, it's very, you've only been
Fired
know?
since July 16th.
Okay.
And so I finally get these documents, all these threat assessments and stuff, and I'm like, I didn't know this guy McLeod said he felt threatened against me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but he keeps coming out here where I'm out in this training center all the time and being around me. If you feel threatened, why would you go around somebody? And why would you continue to say, oh, I'll represent Speirs? If you feel threatened by somebody, you should probably not go near him.
So he's now the new union guy? Or
He's the same union guy that had been there the whole time, but he's like
still saying that he's
I didn't know that he felt threatened. And at some point, the agency should have to tell you. And so I have my EO rep. Here's a perfect example. I tell you about Teal Hugo, and we're gonna wrap it all up. But her supervisor out in Texas, this guy Stephen Coggins, he's an idiot. He lied to Internal Affairs and made up some bullshit charges and AWOL'd her for no reason. And I'm talking to the Internal Affairs guy. We're doing it remotely because I'm down here. She was up in Coleman, and the guy was in South Carolina. And so I told the Internal Affairs guy, I said, wait a second here. I said, if she was not she was not AWOL'd on that day and he was made aware of it, doesn't he have a responsibility to contact Internal Affairs and say, look, this charge should be
bogus.
It's dismissed.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He let it ride. So I said, that's false reporting. And I said, that's not just false reporting of like an HR person to another person or whatever. Back to what I was telling you, he's a law enforcement officer. Are you allowed to false report in Internal Affairs? Is that a problem? So what did I do? I sent it off to the U.S. Attorney's Office out in Texas. What did they do? They referred him to the FBI.
Wow.
So he's and then the hypocrisy behind it is they still sustained and trying to give that lady a 10-day rip, 10-day suspension, knowing that this guy falsified an investigation. That should all be done away with.
Well, and then at a point, like falsifying an investigation, you get like Brady listed and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you're damn near useless as far as testifying.
Yeah, giglio. You get giglioed, and any of your testimonies.
Oh, is that like a federal term? Probably.
Yeah, it's giglio is the federal case for it.
Yeah, down on our side we call it like Brady list.
Yeah.
Because you're a proven liar.
Trash. You're trash.
You know, like your testimony is can't be factual.
Yeah. So that's an example, and that's recent.
Yeah.
And so now I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, holy shit, like this agency's off the rails, man.
Yeah.
And so when I did that podcast, Blood on the Razor Wire, shout out to Chad, I got some blowback on that from this Teal Hugo. Her husband was my lieutenant. Now, she sent me a message saying, I'm glad my husband hemmed you up. I mean, you're a law enforcement officer fucking with a civilian now. I mean, I wonder if that's going to be in my at my hearing.
Yeah. So, all right. So at this point, you still really don't know what the original
no clue
this investigation that spurred it. As an experienced union member or union president, you ran as many roadblocks or formalities as possible to, make sure that you were protected as you're being the investigatee or as the subject of an investigation. You tried to run as many legal that all exist roadblocks, and then you've run into, in your own words, corrupt individuals that aren't doing things by the letter of the law, and that still haven't explained to you why they were investigating.
Why I'm in trouble.
and now, but
and remember the 120-day rule.
But so what did you get fired for?
I got fired for 4 counts of failure to comply with investigations.
That you don't know what you're getting investigated for.
I don't originally know what the investigation was for. Now, mind you, you're not talking about just some street cop that's 2 years on the job that doesn't know their shit.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking 15 years.
You're talking about an experienced vet with union board member experience, which those guys, I can speak to as someone who's been on a union board, learn the ins and outs and also see the other side that a lot of people don't get to see
And
on the job
and you go through specific union trainings and stuff
by the unions.
Yeah,
and stuff
they
like that.
foster
Of
it.
course,
So
of
it's
course.
not like you just, oh, here, you're a union guy. Bring.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was a shop steward first. I worked my way up the ranks.
Right.
So when they send you these investigations from term affairs, oh, by the way, Speirs, you have it goes to the union president. It says you have this, and that, and being investigated for.
Yeah.
So this Castillo guy, I forgot to tell you that. He put a threat assessment against me and said he felt threatened in April of 2024. I get an email saying I'm getting investigated in June. In June, I get a letter from this Everett Kelly prick, the national AFG guy, head of the union, saying, "Oh, by the way, you got Article 23 charges from related to Mr. Castillo. We're trying to kick you out of the union."
Wow. And
So-
Article 23 being something of a union by law.
It's a union from the union constitution. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So then I'm like, well, shit, I can't trust this union for
Right.
sure now. I know I can't. I mean, they're trying to kick me out. So then I send it to the e-board except for Castillo. I send an email, forward it, and said, look, I'm under investigation. I have no clue why. This is in June. I get an email back July 1st from Mr. Castillo, which I have. And it says, I will be your sole representative. You have to come to my office and meet with me only.
And it, to me, it seems foolish because it's like, listen, if there's a conflict of interest, like, let's just be basic about it. If I'm the president and there's a conflict of interest between me and you, we just can hate each other, whether you banged my wife or something like that. I'd look at my VP
And say, you
my
handle it.
secretary and say, like at ours, we have a VP, we have a second VP, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We just, hey, one of you guys go through there.
Handle it.
I'll consult during board meetings with everyone else here.
Yeah.
But me and this guy, whether I'm a bitch and I feel scared
Or
by him,
whatever.
or I just am making stuff up because I want to see him get screwed.
Yeah.
You're still within your role as a union board member or president to represent the people that are in there, unless you can present just cause to why this person should be in your terms, Article 23 and removed from. But like, hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, this
recuse yourself
this
from the
is
whole
just
situation.
Good business.
Right. Recuse yourself from everything.
Yeah.
Like, be impartial.
Frustrating. Wow.
And so get this, my EEO rep, the one I was talking about with the Texas stuff, she did Article 23 charges on him in August of 2023 when he tried to fight me, and nothing ever came back from the union.
Yeah.
So I'm going through all this shit, and I can't trust my union, and I can't trust this Castillo guy. I can't. So tell me, you've dealt with mental health a lot in your career. I worked the psych wards over there at Broward General.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked mental health court with BSO, and I'm 15 years in the job with the federal government, right? Dealing with a lot of psych issues. What normal, and it's called, a reasonable person standard. That's the legal definition. A reasonable person. Would a reasonable person think that if somebody felt threatened and did a workplace violence threat assessment and then turned around and did Article 23 charges that had the same person kicked out of the union and then turned around and emails this same person, hey, come meet with me in my office. What normal, reasonable person would do that?
And that just goes to exactly what I was just saying. Like, it's not good business. I don't understand why it's going down this way. Jesus.
It's crazy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And my national union did nothing. My council did nothing. They just let it all ride out.
Wow.
And just to show you, like, and I said, all the corruption and everything, like, we have this is our national reunion rep for out in the Western region. He was on Jimmy Kimmel when we had the last government shutdown. And he was out there playing a tambourine and all this stupid shit. There's pictures of him with Senator Booker and shit, DC, when they're doing all the union shit and everything. This guy pled guilty to waterboarding his wife on their honeymoon in LA.
Yeah.
What law enforcement officer do you know, if they got a domestic violence charge, can still have a 6-shooter on their hip?
Conviction? No. Yeah.
Or he pled guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's a conviction.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
This guy still has a job out there, John Kostelnik, piece of shit, and still has is still involved with the union, and the union is covered for this guy all this whole time. So how can I sit back here and really feel like, yay, go unions, when everything they've done to me or allowed done to me?
So, I mean, what's going forward? Like, what do you have going forward now?
I already told you I was thinking about starting 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
And then,
But like with this case.
Oh, with this case.
Like before we get into future podcasting careers.
What's going on with this case is I have to have all my evidence in, and witness list and discovery by next month, October 6th. And then I have a hearing October 22nd.
And these are things like to try to get your reinstatement back?
Trying to get my job back.
Trying to get your job back, do you lose your, I mean, you got fired, so your pension's done.
I mean, I still can get, I mean, I pulled my 401k money out. I'm living off that temporarily now.
Yeah.
But what's fucked up is that like my coworker, Casey Hernandez, and her piece of shit warden Hall, anyway, she applied for ICE and they sent back no. Sorry,
Right.
And so when you get blacklisted from the federal government and stuff like this, you can't get a job. I mean, it's hard. One guy got his job back. He's back there to work, and he ran against this Castillo guy, and they hemmed him up with an administrative charge, and they didn't even let this guy. He was running against this Castillo guy. They didn't even let him come in and vote in his own election for himself.
For the union.
So like, I mean, so when you look at this stuff, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm pissed. I'm like, like I fought for all these people.
So this hearing's through the Bureau of Prisons, or is it through federal court?
No, it's through the Merit Systems Protection Board.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
and it's out of Atlanta. So, but the other thing is, depending whatever happens with it, we'll see. But I mean, it's frustrating. 15 years, 2 months, and 6 days on the job.
And then just down the drain.
Yeah.
Again, for something that we really like, I'm not trying to be
you're pissed about that.
I'm not trying to be a shitty podcast and not ask the right questions. I know I'm not the best podcaster in the world, but like the guy's got no information and he's not providing me any information and he's not withholding it. So what do you want me to do?
You're going to deport me. Just deport me.
Yeah.
I was born here in New York.
So and I can hear it. So, wow. All right. So you got, all right. Well,
where's the probable cause in any of this shit? And also go back to this part, 120-day rule.
Yeah.
So when they emailed me in May, June time, 4 months is November. All right. So say it's June. Say June the latest. So June, July, August, September.
Yeah.
October, November. That's 6 months. Mm-hmm. That's past 4.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
And they had we have arbitration and case law and all this stuff on this where it was like by 1 day over 120 days, and the arbitrator threw it out and said that's untimely. That's stale discipline.
Come on, Judge Judy, start tapping the watch.
Tapping the watch.
Let's go. So 2 podcasts. Why 2 podcasts?
One would be for the federal prisons and stuff and everything that goes on there, and the other one would be for federal whistleblowers.
Okay.
And so that they could come on and just say their story.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of people that are getting just unjustly fired.
I that was one of my questions, and so at least we can come back to that and we can use that to wrap this up. Why be a whistleblower? I've heard like several bad stories about being whistleblowers, and it's like, it's like scary, but like you said, it's its own podcast in its own, I bet. But like, it just doesn't seem fruitful sometimes. It's scary, like,
I mean, if you look at it, and I'll tell you right now, in retrospect, I've said this before, I would never have gotten involved in the union as much as I did.
Yeah.
Because when I get involved in something, I'm not half-assing it. I'm going all in.
All deep.
Yeah. So balls deep in, whatever. So
I was hesitant to say it, but
I did it. I got you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, So I'm like, I look at in retrospect, I could have just come in, did my 8 and skate, and just fuck it.
Yeah, that was another question I had. You know, like if you could look back and tell your younger self some life lessons.
I
That'd
would have
probably
stayed
be,
at BSO. Fuck the
well,
feds.
stayed at VSO.
Fuck
You
the
know,
feds.
lost your partner, judge retired and passed away.
Yeah.
You would have just tried to regroup and go into something else, and
Yeah.
just stuck with the state pension,
Yeah.
gotten a better pension out of it, most
Yeah.
likely. All right, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like even my old partner, she's like, Eric, you shouldn't be putting that shit on Facebook like that. And I'm like, fuck, what are they gonna do? Refire me again?
Yeah. Wow. Man. All right. Well, you got anywhere that you want people to follow the story if they want to stay up on it, or
I mean,
is your Facebook public?
yeah,
or
my
is-
Facebook's somewhat public. I mean, I'm gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Fred Chambliss. I'll send it to him, and he's got a page too that he'll probably put it up on.
Okay.
So yeah, my name, Eric Speirs on Facebook. If you know, I'll put this out there public on my thing, and then probably Fred.
Or you could make a page,
Yeah.
or something like that, more dedicated to it. That way, it's
Yeah.
you know, you can keep some of your personal stuff or whatever you might put on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then you can have a page that you run.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a Federal Bureau of Prisons Avengers page.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Well, we'll tell people to keep a lookout, and then once you do, you send it to me, and then I'll kind of reshare it. That way, people will say, you know, I can say, hey, he finally did it. You know,
Yeah.
Avengers Assemble.
One last one.
Yeah.
So our deputy director, and this is the hypocrisy that I'm dealing with. I kind of been pissing him off a lot lately. This guy's a former federal inmate, okay? And I believe in pardons. I believe in people with second chances and all kinds of shit like that. However, this guy was a 10-time convicted coke trafficker.
The deputy director?
The deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
All right. Takes one to know one, I guess, right?
Yeah. And so my thing is, hold on a second here. I could not get hired on with the feds. We have to do what's called an SF-85 public trust clearance. Now, an SF-86 gets you a security clearance. That's what you need if you get for like definitely that position or the director's position. The director of Bureau of Prisons has classified briefings.
Yeah.
With the FBI, the DEA, DOD, all those.
You got high priority people, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all the time. And so this guy is a 10-time convicted felon. I could never call him through the door. To pass an SF-86, it says, because the 85 is a little less intrusive. The 86 gets more into and that's why Jared Kushner could never pass it, because it deals with like overseas investments and shit and contacts.
Oh, yeah, he's too tied up with that. Yeah.
Right. So this guy says, have you ever been arrested? Not if you've been arrested in the last 7 years or whatever, like the 85 says, ever. So if he had to answer that, 10-time convicted felon, he has a BOP reg number. It's 15133-075. How do I know that? Because I put it on everything, and I have a petition out there against Josh Smith, the deputy director of the Bureau of Prisons, to have him removed. Jeez. So I put this on Facebook there.
Yeah. Donkey.
Mule.
Or mule, yeah.
Coke mule.
Oh, jeez.
So somebody helped me out with designing that, but yeah, I mean, it's all hypocrisy. Like, come on, man. Like, this guy can't. He couldn't hold. I mean, I couldn't get that job if I was arrested. Could you have gotten a job with? No. If you
what agency? I'll bleep that out.
My bad.
It's okay.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
I mean,
crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to get it if I had like a habitual traffic offender type.
Yeah.
You know.
Matter of fact, I mean, I had to take care of some credit shit before I got on with the bureau.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Crazy.
so I've been doing it left and right just to because we got so many ass kissers in the agency, and they're like, Speirs, you shouldn't do that. You should be better, whatever, and I'm just like, company man, like, fuck that. They already fired me. So I put this up there too about the petition.
Oh yeah. You sent me some of those. Yeah.
So,
wow,
so I get fired. And I don't even know why I got fired. I got fired because I didn't comply with a dirty internal affairs asshole, Donald Newsom. Yeah. And the former director, Colette Peters, she's another trash bag. She didn't do anything. William Lothrop, another idiot. He was the deputy director. Now this guy, William Marshall, he's not doing nothing. And the deputy director is a coke runner. So,
jeez.
So yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, a lot to look over in there. So, but thank you very much for coming on and telling your story. A crazy story. I mean, I hope something works out for you. I mean, you got a lot of stuff. You throw a lot of grenades too, but you got a lot of stuff. So,
Well, hey, they've asked for them, so
yeah,
they're getting them.
Appreciate you coming on the show, and everybody else, we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, cool, man. Out.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.